5 movies from now, I want to see communist and fascist apes fighting each other in the streets. Right? I really want to go there, right? And this movie is kind of promising me that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are back. The Eye of the Storm podcast. This time, I'm with my boy Daniel only.
Hey.
Guys, before we get into the main discussion, Daniel, Danny G. I don't know if you like me calling you Danny G. I've never asked you if you actually ever like people calling you Danny G.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. All right, cool. Daniel, what's the most recent thing that you've seen?
So this week I watched My Cousin Vinny, which is a 1992 comedy court drama. I had heard of it many times, and I'd seen like clips of it, and I've seen people quote it, but I've never actually gotten around to seeing it. And this week I watched it, and it's wonderful. So it's essentially about these two New Yorkers who are traveling through the American South in Alabama, and they get arrested for a murder they didn't commit. And the only lawyer they can afford is their cousin Vinny, who graduated from law school 6 weeks ago and almost worked a case once. So the story is essentially about Vinny going to Alabama with his fiance, and they basically try to prosecute this case while being completely, like, he's a trained lawyer, but he's completely inexperienced. He's never tried a court before. He's never been to Alabama before. He has this constant culture shock, and he keeps rubbing up against like the locals, and he is the outsider who is defending the outsiders who killed one of theirs, right? So there's this whole dynamic there, and it's very funny, and it's very good, and I just cannot recommend it enough. It also supports my thesis that films shouldn't be made by filmmakers, because this was made by, I think this is a filmmaker, but he's got a law background, and so this movie is actually shown in law schools to show people certain aspects of how to be a lawyer and how to prosecute a case. It basically gets all the little details right and then builds drama on top of that, right? So one of the things I think way too many movies do is to misrepresent how things work in order to make the drama easier, when actually you can often find real drama and real comedy and real characters and stories in the way things really are. And so, like in this case, in how a court case proceeds. This basically proves that, without going into too many details of what, like, the plot of or anything. It's basically it follows this comedy of errors as Vinny tries to figure out how to win this case. It's just one of the better movies I've seen in quite a while.
Okay. Well, yeah, I remember you mentioned that to me as well. So you say accuracy is definitely something that's important to you.
Yeah, and the movie is better for it. Like, it's more interesting because it knows like the intricacies of how to be a lawyer, right, and how cases unfold, and that makes it feel less generic, right? Like a lot of when people say, "Oh, we have to like cut corners, or we have to like turn this into something it's not," it's so that people can identify with the drama better. But that kind of makes everything the same. And for me, stories get interesting when the specifics are made interesting and are made to matter. And here, the fact that it's New Yorkers matters, that it's set in Alabama matters. The details of what a lawyer needs to do to win a case like this all matter, and they all drive the story, and they all interact with who Vinny and his fiance are as people, and where they are in like the personal place that they are in, and their outlook on things, and it all feeds into each other, and just turns it into a better story than if it was just a courtroom drama.
Okay. All right. I Okay, for me, what I saw, well, I'm currently on episode 1, and so far it's all right. It's a Netflix series called A Man in Full, so pretty much a real estate. He's like the CEO, like he's a whole mogul. He pretty much faces bankruptcy, and then there's a lot of powers that be, a lot of people that pretty much capitalizing off his downfall. And there's other stories as well which come into play. And overall, it's definitely a drama with a heavy comedic turn to it. So far, like I said, I'm only episode 1. I'm only 1 episode in, and it's fun. It's definitely, I say so far, it's definitely a fun experience. They don't go overboard when it comes to, like I said, when it comes to the humor. It can be dark humor at times, which makes it even funnier. It's just got that, I wouldn't say quirky, but it's like that awkward, gritty type of humor. Which I'm surprisingly starting to become a fan of. Like I mentioned before, I'm not really too fond of the whole, you know, comedy genre, especially like when it comes to when they try and incorporate it into like serious toned I don't want to say content because then you know that content, so let's just say film or TV shows. But this one, I'm starting to like the incorporation of comedy in these type of genres. But yeah, it was good. It's good so far. I'll let you guys know in the future how it goes. But hi Daniel.
Yeah, sounds good.
It looks like it's the main event.
Yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. All in all, I really liked the whole human and apes comparison. I liked how they played with it throughout the film. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the franchise. I have watched all the movies, but well, not all. I'd say from 2000. I haven't watched the movies before that in the night. Was it the 70s? I think the first one.
70s and 80s, I think.
I don't fully remember what happened though, but so this is kind of like a new experience all over again for me. Just movie. So this movie, I just love the whole comparisons that they like the human comparisons they made between apes and just apes and human beings. The way that, especially with the whole incorporation of religion and the two sides to religions. That's very it's very relatable, and obviously in today's society, how you got the normal. Let's focus on Christians. You got the normal Christians, and you got the freaking extremists. Same with Muslims. You got the good Muslims, and you got the freaking extremists. So it was kind of like they incorporated that as well in this film, and the whole how human beings, or in this case how apes, kind of perversed the words of their god, like Caesar, which I liked. Overall, I like the film. I'm surprised. Like the film, like when I saw the trailer and when I found out there's gonna be another Planet of the Apes movie, I didn't feel the type of way. I didn't feel like it was just like, oh, okay, there's another movie. I remembered that I had fun with the previous film. I don't remember what the hell happened, so it wasn't a memorable movie for me. But overall, I just felt like, all right, cool, there's gonna be another movie. So I wasn't going into this movie with any hype, with any expectation. But I definitely walked out the film like, okay, I'm ready to see what's next, because it does end with the ending is very open. So it definitely does invite a second film. And I am down for it. I want to see what happens. So all in all, I'd say my experience was it was good. I was surprised. What about you, Daniel?
I thought this movie was excellent. I think it may be the best in the current continuity so far. And if not, it's maybe number 2. It's just overall an excellent movie. Just on a basic level of telling a story and introducing us to characters and communicating this world to us and making us care about this world and these people. Just on that basic level, it's already excellent. It's got great pacing, it's got great effects, it's got inventive action. All the pieces are there. And then it uses those pieces to really move the story forward compared to what came before. And it really does interesting things with the basic premise. I think it's interesting that this movie is still very far removed from the status quo of the first movie back from the 60s or whenever it was. But we're seeing the pieces take form, and with each movie it takes very large steps. That's one of the things I liked about it, that each movie takes a large step towards what we know to the end point is. And somehow it still manages to be thrilling and engaging. Like, we're not waiting for it to get good. Like each step of the way, the journey is interesting, and that I think is a big achievement, and I want to see more. I want them to keep going for a while and really go through this journey about how ape society really takes form and why they come to believe what they believe and why they do what they do and things like that. Because that is we're kind of halfway there at this point. Like if you compare it to the original, we're at the midway point. Just in terms of the logistics of this franchise, it's an incredible achievement. Just at this point, like if it stops here, it's already amazing. But I really want them to keep going, and I thought there was a good balance between world building and plot and characters, but also setting things up for the future. Like we've gotten over the past decade with like the big shared universes, we've kind of gotten used to the idea that there's such a thing as a setup movie, where you have to wait a couple of movies before it gets good, and movies are basically pieces in a puzzle, and the destination is the real goal, not the journey. And this movie does the opposite. Like even if they had stopped after the first movie, it would still be worth seeing. And the same is true for every other movie. Like I'm a bit down on War, like the third one. I think that one is a little bit of a side story, really. Every other movie in this franchise has been a big piece of the puzzle, and each step of the journey has been exciting, and it's I adore it for that.
I'm not trying to go off track, but why was it War? You said.
Yeah, War.
Why was that one kind of disappointing for you?
It was kind of a side story. Like the main thing it introduced was the mutation of the virus that's turning humans quiet or silent, I think they say in this film. And that is pretty the one. Like there's a bunch of interesting pieces there, but I didn't think we had to spend an entire movie on like this rogue military leader who was trying to contain this virus when the mainstream human faction that we never really saw was also doing the same way. They were just a little bit more scrupulous about it. And also I didn't like, I've seen it once so far. So maybe if I watched it again, I would have I would get more out of it. But it didn't seem to be really all that important for Caesar's journey. Like he becomes a martyr in that one. And that's important kind of to his legacy, but in terms of who he is as a person and what he accomplishes in his life and what he's remembered for, that basically happens in the second movie. And so there were lots of pieces I liked about War. Like the apes collaborating with the humans, but those humans are like an extremist splinter group, and they're not mainstream either. And like how they build like a two-class system with humans at the top and apes at the bottom, even though apes were not really enslaved, but like they acted like they were a colonial empire, right? Mm. But really they were just 50 guys with guns, and they had somehow found some apes that would collaborate with them. But like how they treated them and things like that had like colonial undertones. Like there was good stuff in there. I just thought devoting an entire movie to it seemed overkill. So I think you could take, like if I was making my own viewing order, I would just take War out and just take 1, 2, and 4 currently, and then see what else comes out.
So would you say that from the whole franchise that it keeps on progressing, even from the films in the cities?
So I watched all of them over the past week in preparation for this.
Include the films in the 70s? No,
just the 4 in this continuity. And they all really fit well together, and you can see really them foreshadowing things that come later, and you see different pieces being put in place, and these ideas propagating through primarily ape society in ways that started to pay off here, where you could see like the origins of different ideas. And if you have seen the previous movies, you can see where they came from. Like the most obvious one was Caesar's symbol, right? Which is the window of his room when he was growing up, which he painted on his cage when he was when he was imprisoned in the first movie. And he painted that window to remind him of home. And so that symbol is now a religious symbol that kind of has this pan-ape solidarity movement kind of thing going on, which is really cool. And nobody really knows where the symbol comes from, but they kind of know what it means, but they also co-opt it to their own purposes, and they all have their own perspectives on what it means. Like that's some really cool stuff going on here.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that this was always the plan? Because surely it has to always be a plan that they were always going to create like a filmmaker just had, or were they different filmmakers in this movie as in different directors?
The different ones, yeah. I think the writers are the same.
Okay.
But I think they just keep going and just pretend that they have a master plan, but they just write as if they can do the whole thing. And then if they can't, then too bad. That's my impression. Because there's too much foreshadowing and too much world building going on, especially if you've seen the old movies, for that to be an accident. But I don't think they have the nine movies planned out or something. But they're taking it one movie at a time, but they kind of know what the goal is, and just keep going towards the goal with every movie.
Okay, because I know. Okay, so we've kind of gone through what we kind of liked about the film, and we'll get into that. And surprisingly, I think is this like the second time actually that we've actually agreed with each other in terms of.
It might be.
Yeah, it might be. First was Dune 2, which I think that was universal. That's gonna be universal. But in terms of this movie, I was a bit surprised. I was actually intrigued to find out what your opinion was on this one, because
I've got criticism of this, but
which is what we're gonna get into.
But they're relatively small. Like my overall takeaway is this is a great movie. Like even if you've not seen the others, it's still worth it. Like they give you enough background to appreciate what's going on, I think.
Before we even get to dislikes, what was it? Was there specific moments in the movie that you really liked where you're like, this is an excellent movie?
It's kind of hard to pick one.
It seems like it's the undertones for you.
So it's kind of all the different pieces. They're all kind of aligning. So I really adored the world building in this. like how ape society is progressing, how it's getting more complex over time. They're starting to wear clothes. They start to have distinctive cultures. They have more complex social structures, right? They're now up to a clan level for most apes, and we're starting to see the first kingdoms, like centralized kingdoms. So, like, I'm really getting a kick out of how they're basically speedrunning human history. Like, they started off essentially as like hunter-gatherers, right? They just lived in a forest, and then they started forming groups, and they started having leaders, and those leaders just ruled through sheer intimidation. Like, even Caesar ruled through violence, right? Like, anybody who challenged, like, he was the leader because people looked up to him and accepted him, but anybody who challenged him, was going to be met with violence, right? Like, when Koba challenged him in the second movie, like, they resolved that with fists, right? And now Proximus Caesar is a very different kind of tyrant than Caesar was. Like, we're now up to like antiquity, where you're starting to see kingdoms consolidate into these all-powerful god kings, god emperors kind of thing. And I really want them to keep going in the next movies. I want them to, the next one should be medieval, and then after that it's like absolutist empires, and after that they're starting to get into modernity. And I want to see, like, 5 movies from now, I want to see communist and fascist apes fighting each other in the streets, right? I really want to go there, right? And this movie is kind of promising me that, and I'm getting a big kick out of that. Also, like, little world building, like how how their language is evolving, how they're still using sign language, but it's becoming less important. All these kinds of sorts of things, I really liked. Like, not so much Proximus Caesar, not him specifically or any one particular moment, but like also what he stood for, right? That, like, this was, like, apes are now at a point that humans were like 3,000 years ago, where it's all about just raw power and just taking over everybody else, because you can't do it. Like, if you want to achieve something, you have to make other people do stuff for you, right?
But I really liked what they did with his character, though, because in hindsight, he wasn't you could argue that he wasn't really the antagonist, because you could actually argue that it was what's her name,
May is really interesting as well. Yeah.
You could argue that she kind of was like the antagonist, because I love how how they were conveying human nature, and how dangerous it can be, how dangerous human nature can be, especially with the ending scene where, one spoiler zone, where what's his name? Is it Noah?
Noah, yeah.
Yeah, Noah. When Noah, obviously, when they had their final meet, and then she had the gun behind her back.
Just to make sure, yeah.
Exactly. That was like, this is, this is like, oh, not only did she nearly kill all the apes with her freaking antics.
Well, she killed most of them.
Yeah, she killed.
Right, like, it's like enough of the eagle tribe seem to have survived so that they could continue, but she killed hundreds of apes that day, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, and I just love how, because at first you're thinking, okay, Proximus Caesar, I believe, so that's his name. Yeah, at first you're thinking, okay, he's just creating internal conflict in Noah because he's got an agenda, which is to open the gates. But in actuality, with how the film ends and how the film turns out, is like, there's truth into what he's actually saying. Like, the internal conflict that he's creating in Noah is valid, and
which is whether or not humans and apes will ever be able to coexist.
Exactly. And could you say it's a whole power thing? It's a whole power play?
What is?
As in, like, the whole, in terms of humans and apes coexisting, because
so that kind of leads me into one of my minor criticisms of the movie, which is 4 movies in, the movie still doesn't really have an idea of what conflict is, or why it happens, or why wars happen, right? There's no groups here with conflicting interests, right? It's all about bad people doing bad things, right? And this was, I think Dawn was the second movie, and that was the big theme in the second movie, where both sides had good people and bad people in them, and the bad people won in the end, and that's why there was a war. And that's not really why wars happen. Like, wars happen because 2 groups have conflicting interests, and they think they can gain the upper hand through violence, right? By dominating the other side, and then that's how they get what they want. In this case, it was apes wanted to protect the territory, and humans wanted to get access to the hydroelectric dam, which I thought was a really cool setup for a conflict. But it kind of got held back by this idea that war happens when bad people have guns, which I think is very surface level and uninteresting. And I think this movie is taking baby steps towards being more interesting. But like what I found interesting was that Proximus Caesar was kind of right, that getting into the vault was the most important thing for apes, and the only way that could be achieved is by throwing labor at it, and that the way you do that is to pick up a whip and to make other people do the work for you, because no ape can do this alone, right? And that is how the pyramids were built, right? And it took thousands of years for humans to have to discover better ways of getting stuff done. And today it's obsolete. But 3,000 years ago, it wasn't. And apes are kind of at that, in this movie, the apes are kind of at the level where, people were, like humans were 4,000 years ago. And that's what I meant by kind of, I want them to keep progressing in the next movies, but they're kind of in an interesting place here. But it also still comes down to Proximus is just a bad person. And everybody in the Eagle tribe is a good person.
But is he? Did they convey him in that way?
Or he comes across as a complete psychopath and maniac, I thought.
I didn't actually think so. That's why I was like in a bit.
Like it would have been different if they had if he had also built cities that nobody else could have built.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of walk a fine line with that. Like at some point you're kind of justifying imperialism and all of that kind of thing. But also in the absence of better ways, that's kind of how things were done at that level of civilization.
What you're saying, but the reason my comparison with Proximus was actually what's his name? Negan from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it, so I can't. But from what I've heard, he's kind of similar, right?
Yeah, and the reason why I say Negan is because I do believe his ways were definitely evil when it comes to him getting his way. I agree. But his intentions came from a good place, which was to protect his people and, it was mainly to protect his people and obviously for his people to grow and just protect themselves and become more powerful, which them becoming more powerful kind of falls into them protecting themselves. And I felt like it was the same thing with Proximus. Like, yeah, he was very, when he didn't get his way, like, for example, when he put the knife to, was it Noah's, was it his girlfriend or his mom? Not his girlfriend.
Yeah, well, I think he had his mother hostage, right?
Yeah. And then when so then when they opened the gate and then he held her at knife point, that's where they portrayed that this guy's actually evil. But it was because he wanted to. Wow, he
was also trying to survive, and May had the gun, right? So had the only gun in the room. So
exactly. So that's why I understand. I can't necessarily agree that he was just evil. I do believe that his antics and obviously the way he went about things was evil, but it still was rooted in intent, like good intentions for.
Like his evil comes from the whole enslaving people and making them work for him, right? That's what makes him evil. Because they did not volunteer; they were not being paid.
Yeah, they were not. Yeah, true. They were, but they were not being paid. They didn't volunteer. But I was surprised when they walked. Like, for example, when no one them actually arrived to the place, like, we didn't see no shackles, no chains.
Yeah.
Like when the mom.
It was kind of a cozy empire, right?
Exactly. So that's why I was a bit surprised. I'm like, okay, this guy isn't like he's literally Negan, but in the form of an ape. Like he's still like you can't because. Like I said, they weren't forced, so they still had to participate in them building, because they were like building, because I remember there was a scene where the monkey, when you saw Noah, he said, "Welcome home." I wasn't expecting that whatsoever, but then that told me, okay, these guys aren't as evil as, they're being built up to. There's actually something about them. They're actually building to something, and you know what I'm saying? So with Proximus, he was building to something, and the way that he went about it was evil, I agree, but they were still building towards something, and they still had.
He had a purpose, right? He wasn't just evil, but he was also like his approach was, we're accomplishing great things here. Many of you will die, and that's a price I'm willing to pay, right? Okay. That kind of thing. So I think he was very clearly evil, but I don't know that he had better options, and that is kind of the part where it starts to get interesting again, because Dawn. I think that was the second one. That one was really simplistic about, like, some people are good, some people are bad, and that's the end of the discussion. And there's no such thing as people's circumstances and tough choices or anything like that. It's just good people, bad people. And here it's more muddy, but we're still kind of getting, like, the Eagle tribe is all good, right? Like, they don't have any flaws. That I noticed. They're all good people. They all get along. Like, whenever movies do this, I find it a little bit boring, because reality is not like that, right? Like, somebody can be in the right and still be flawed, or somebody can be the bad guy and still have a point, or part of a point, or have good reasons for doing it, or whatever.
Who was the Eagle tribe again? Was that Noah's tribe?
Yeah, that was Noah's tribe. Yeah,
But we didn't
they
really
just
get
live in harmony. They raise their eagles, and everybody gets along with everybody.
true, but we didn't really get to see much of Noah's tribe, even though we do see them in a abducted environment. We didn't really
Yeah.
get to see much of Noah's tribe, so maybe that's gonna be.
It's like 20 minutes at the start where we see their inner workings, and we also see things like the graduation ceremony and all of these things, and it all came across as very idyllic and very sympathetic, I thought, which is fine. It's just so many movies do this that I'm on the lookout for it, and this movie took a bunch of steps in that direction, but it wasn't as bad as most movies. And I don't want to dwell on that too much. It's more that I thought they could have added some things to make Proximus Caesar a little bit more interesting by having him have a little bit of a point. But I appreciate they didn't make him just the biggest monster ever.
Okay, I hear that. How did you feel about apes treating humans like apes?
So that is one of the big things I like about this franchise, which is that there's no like kind of part of why I reacted so negatively to Dawn, or that aspect of Dawn. I think other things in Dawn are great, but like that aspect of Dawn is that from the very start, this franchise has been about people will exploit other people when they get a chance, right? Humans exploit apes, apes exploit humans, gorillas exploit chimpanzees, and so on. They even had a patriarchal society in the first movie where the female scientist had to hide her intelligence and her less skilled husband had to speak for her, otherwise society would not respect her findings, right? There's these nested levels of exploitation going on, and it's not good or bad, right? Like that was always the big appeal of this, and it was kind of the point that you can't divide people into good and bad. It's just this is what happens when people benefit from exploiting other people. They will usually do it, and it takes courage to not do that, right? Like in the first movie, you had the chimpanzees who take pity on the humans and help them escape, and essentially turn themselves into fugitives in doing so. Right, that was like the plot of the first movie, essentially, back in the 60s. And this idea has been with this franchise as well, for the most part. And I think this movie is okay about it. So apes exploiting other apes is interesting. Apes exploiting humans. Actually, I found it interesting that Proximus does not enslave humans. Like why are there no humans? They are clearly they have regressed mentally, right? So it's to the point where they can't have a technological society anymore, but you can make them work in the fields or stuff, right? Surely they're smart enough for that. They're not outright animals. So why is Proximus why is it not a slave state where humans work for apes? Was it for thematic reasons? Or was there something else going on?
It seems like I think he's trying to discover, because the human that he had with him, I don't remember his name, but I think he's trying to discover, I think the reason why he didn't fully go overboard or enslave them in terms of like manual labor was because he was trying to find more people like the human that he already had, as in smart humans.
Yeah.
So that
was separate, right? Like he had built his empire on enslaving other apes, usually chimpanzees. And I think it's implied, I don't think it's stated, but it's implied that the Eagle tribe is one of many that has been enslaved, right? And then he's also collecting smart humans so that they can teach him about technology and history.
Yeah.
But those are separate things, right? What I'm talking about is there are no humans working in the mine or in the fields or anything like that, right? Like he could do what empires throughout history have done, which is you buy the allegiance of your people by elevating them above the other group, right? The people who do the work, who work in the fields and whatever. And that is not what's happening here, right? He's keeping humans out of his empire completely. They're not working in the fields. They're not servants. It's ape dominating ape. And I thought that was interesting, and that has to be intentional.
Yeah, maybe there's a bigger agenda to it. Obviously, we haven't seen his story progress because he died. But yeah, I see the point that you're making. Do you think? Actually, no, because I think because he did, like you said, he found the human that he had hostage, and I'm pretty sure. See, when there was a scene where he was chasing May and obviously the other humans when they were at the little river or pond or wherever it was. So but wait, but the humans that he did abduct, what happened to them?
Which humans?
remember when the gorilla, his retriever, the gorilla guy. Remember when
Yeah,
they found May and the orange. Remember when they found them,
yeah.
and then when they found the other humans, and then Noah was gonna go on about his way, and obviously he came back because they found him and they started chasing them, and then he started abducting humans.
My impression was that they're supposed to capture humans they find and then screen for intelligent humans. And
Mm,
then I don't know what they do. I don't know if they kill the others or let them go or whatever.
mm.
But when May starts talking, that's where they drop everything and none of the other humans matter and she's the target.
Yeah.
Right? That is because Proximus wants smart humans.
Mm.
Right? I don't think he has a place for feral humans.
Mm. So what next then? Because it's interesting because the scene. What did you think about the telescope scene? Because when I
Yeah.
found out what it like, because when you brought you mentioned this before. You said in terms of the whole was it Alien Martians?
So yeah. So in the first movie, there's a manned Mars mission that leaves just before the simian flu breaks out. So assuming those people survived, there have been humans on Mars for the past 200, 300 years, which means they probably have been watching what's going on Earth, and they probably are planning something, right? They're planning to return, and that is what I meant when I said I want the movie 6 to be Apes versus Martians, right? Which is basically War of the Worlds, right? They've built spaceships and giant robots, and they have these encounter suits because of the virus, but it's the Martians attack, but the Martians are the human survivors. I want that to be how this franchise ends. But that could be who answered the call right at the very
Yeah.
end, right? We don't know. Like it could very well be some other vault that has survived, or it could be the Mars station. And they say something about this is the first time we've talked to somebody, and that doesn't really make sense if there are a whole bunch of vaults with survivors across the world, and some of them presumably have their decryption keys and can talk to people. So the way they sounded was that this is the first time somebody has answered the phone. And that makes sense if these are the Martians who have been waiting for humans to make contact and say, finally, somebody has answered our call and now we can go to the next step. I don't think the movie gives us enough information to know if this is what's happening, but it's consistent.
And is that what you got from when they were actually looking through the telescope? Because I didn't know that. And obviously, I
Now,
didn't know the backstory. Oh, you didn't get that from that?
so in the original movies, the priests are lying about history. They are hiding what the world used to be like in order to, like, as a basis of their power. And a big chunk of the movie is a couple of chimpanzees discovering that this is not true. Right, that they've been lied to, that their belief system is false. And once you start pulling that thread, everything falls apart, like the entire social order, right? That's basically what the movie is about. It's not really about, humans versus apes. It's about that, right? And I don't think that's what's going on here. I think so. First of all, I thought the telescope scene was the worst scene in the movie because it's really not it's really unmotivated. Like he wakes up, like Noah wakes up in the middle of the night and decides to go to this telescope, and May is also there. And the scene is important because from her reaction you can see that she's not an animal, right? And that's the first time he's seen a human this way. So in that sense, it's important. But it's completely unmotivated. It's there because the script says so, which is the worst kind of scene.
But wait, I wasn't getting that. I was getting it because of from what you mentioned last time about how in the first movie, while humans went to a mission to Mars.
But he doesn't know that. Like
Sorry?
I understand that.
No, but he's wondering though.
So I don't think he's seeing like a satellite or something. I think he's seeing something he's never seen before, and it's something that humans built. Right? The telescope is clearly not ape made.
Mm.
Right? So it's two things. Three
Wait.
things.
Okay.
What number one is there's stuff out there that he doesn't know. The world is bigger than his elders have told him. Number two, the thing that lets him see that was made by humans. And number three, he's meeting a human for the first time who's not an animal.
Yeah.
Like those three things come together in that scene, and therefore it's important. But it would be nice if it had been motivated. If he had maybe if what's his name, Raka had shown him this, and they don't expect May to do anything, but she reacts to it, right, or something like there would have been ways of doing this. But him just waking up in the middle of the night and then randomly going to the telescope for no reason. That really stood out to me. That felt like it was inserted at the last minute and I didn't have time to motivate it. But like,
I think it was motivated though, because not in the beginning scenes where obviously, of course, when he sees that May is looking for a telescope, he's like, oh, okay, there's more to this human than meets the eye. But
yeah,
the ending, so when the last time where he does actually the final look into the telescope, and then the shot where they're just zooming into him, where while he's looking up at something, and then it cuts to the shot with May handing. I believe that's the next scene where May hands over the device or whatever she hands over to the following human in the vault. That doesn't that kind of show the motivation? Doesn't that show you, oh, okay, so what I thought is he was looking at a planet, right? So he
no,
sees.
no, I understand why it's important, right? But like the reason he has for going to the telescope and looking through it is not motivated. It just happens. And that was the part that stood out to me. Like, I don't really want to argue that point too much because it's not that important. It's more like what like his realization that the world is bigger and more complex than he thought initially. And that happens because of what he sees through the telescope, and that's because May reacts to it like a person.
Okay.
Right? Like that's why it's important. I understand that. I just thought it was kind of clunky.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, but speaking of Noah, how do you feel of his character as a protagonist? Like, were you underwhelmed? Were you happy with his portrayal?
There's not much going on with him, is there?
Yeah, but this is what Hervey said as well, kind of. So, but listen, with his character, I believe it's the start of a journey. Man. They've done a whole different approach to, obviously, in comparison to Caesar, because like I said, Caesar was introduced as a strong. You could tell he had that leader presence about him, whereas Noah doesn't have that leader presence about him, which makes it more exciting for me because it's like, okay, it tells us there's going to be another movie, and it's telling us that his journey is just beginning, because obviously he was very fragile at times, especially with the end scene, the way that he was getting pummeled by Proximus. I was like, god damn, this guy, he kind of feels like, it kind of felt like what's his name in the Ant-Man film, the antagonist, what's his name again?
Don't remember.
Jonathan Majors character.
Kang.
Yes, it kind of felt like Kang. Felt kind of anticlimactic in a way where I was like, okay, so Kang's getting pummeled by Ant-Man. Proximus, and obviously Noah's getting pummeled by Proximus. I get it, like, cool, Proximus is bigger than him, but surely this is you've just seen your whole journey, and now it's the final moment, and you're getting pummeled, and birds are saving you. So of course we see elements and aspects.
Also, interestingly, he's not winning through violence. Right? He kind of is, but he's winning through his tribal identity. Right, so Caesar ruled as an individual, and any power Noah has is because of his culture. So I thought so I think that's interesting that we are moving slowly up in like complexity and of ape society and things like that, and how characters operate. We're no longer just pure might makes right. It's still a lot of that, but they're starting to be more to ape society.
So do you have kind of like hopes for his character? Because I don't know what your opinions are on his character yet.
So I think it's a very classical hero's journey, right? He's not a fully formed hero, but he's an average person who is experiences something tragic and then rises to the occasion, right? So that's very classic, and I think it works on that, like, for that reason. I don't think he as a person is all that interesting, and he doesn't have to be, but I think they really, like, if he's going to be the protagonist of this trilogy, then he has to become more interesting. He has to do more interesting things. He has to make more difficult choices. Like, currently, he's pretty much always doing the right thing for the right reasons, and that's fine, but I don't particularly, like, I care more about Caesar than I do about Noah. How about you?
I personally, like I said, I personally enjoyed his character because I think it's the start of a journey. Because obviously with the whole initiation, because obviously he had to find the eggs. And what was that? Why did he have to find eggs again? Because he was going to be initiated or something like that.
They're going to hatch the falcons, and they're also going to be their falcons for life.
Okay, cool.
So that was their rite of passage.
Yeah, so I wasn't. So I think the reason why a lot of people there wasn't really much to his story, because like I said, it was the beginning of his story. So
yeah, but that was the first 20 minutes of the first movie, right? So, and he does a lot of stuff afterwards, like everything he does in relation to going out into the valley to find his tribe, and all the adventures he has with May and with Raka and all of these things. Like, these are all like a hero's journey, right? It's just at no point did I really care about who Noah was. And like the rest of the movie was interesting enough. There was enough going on to keep my interest. I'm just saying, as a protagonist, kind of by the numbers.
And I'm not gonna disagree with that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not gonna definitely disagree with it because I do understand where you're coming from. But with Caesar, did he have like a backstory when he was introduced?
Where we see him from birth, right? We see him be raised by humans, and then humans take him away from his family, and where he sees humans abusing apes and apes abusing apes, and then he kind of becomes a leader, and then he organizes an ape uprising in the abusive animal sanctuary, and that ultimately turns into him becoming the leader of a pack of apes who essentially occupy like a forest, like the redwood forest outside of San Francisco, right? So have you seen all 4 movies?
No, I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
Yeah. So the entire first movie was him kind of outgrowing his human family and becoming a leader of a pack of apes. And then by the second one, he was basically the chief of an entire tribe. And then in the third one, he basically lost his tribe and kind of became like a martyr in the process of freeing them. That's basically Caesar's journey. And he does really cool stuff for complex reasons in those 3 movies, and Noah is not yet at that level. And I don't think for this movie he had to be, but it also means there's less going on at this point. I think there could be more in the future, and I think like one thing I really want is I want May to be a villain. I want May to be the villain of the next movie, or one of the villains. Maybe 3. Maybe there's 3 factions. There's good apes, bad apes, and May, because their history is the foundation of a really cool hero-villain dynamic. Like that could be really good. And May has already done. I want to talk about May in a minute, but she's already done some really dark stuff, and so far he's forgiving her. But that may not last forever. Like I think in the next movie there's going to be a point where she has to choose between apes and humans, and she will choose humans, and that will make her the enemy of all apes, including Noah. And he may not want to hate her, but he will have to. I think that's where they're taking this. And if they do this, like that, maybe will come up with something better, right? But if they do this, I think that would be really cool.
100%. That conflict is going to be very spicy. Because you could already see, like, you can obviously the relationship that was built was very organic, and it just felt very, it was, like I said, it was a great relationship one, and especially the way that it slowly deteriorated. It was, especially when it's the scene for me, which was so amazing, when it was the trigger to Noah's conflict in terms of should we trust humans, and when he discovered the kid's book.
Yeah, and she chooses to tell the truth, even though it probably was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Or it could have been. That was really interesting. Like there's like I think we can talk about May now, right? So there's this very brief moment. Overall, I don't think her performance is great. She's got 2 modes, which is passive and angry. And there's not a lot going on otherwise. And for the most part, she can't, right? Because she's a human in an ape culture. So she can't do very much. But there's this scene where, like, when the apes find the children's book, right? They confront her about it, and for just a second, she considers lying about it, just because it's safer. But she chooses to tell the truth anyway, and that was really interesting. And then the apes decide to forgive her, or to overlook it, at least for now. Whether or not that's the right decision. Sorry,
quickly, and that also showed the internal conflict that was in her as well, which will kind of build such a great story if they centered it around her, because it shows that she doesn't want to reach, because she's starting to trust the apes as well, but she's got she's got to like vow her her loyalty to humans because she's a human. So the internal conflict in her and the internal conflict in Noah as well just makes it such a battle. When it builds to that battle, it's gonna make it so much more emotionally gripping.
Yeah. Sorry. So far, it's always panned out, but I think there will come a point where it doesn't, and that will be really interesting when Noah really has to choose between May and his people, or other apes or whatever.
The reason be for Noah for him to even come to such a decision? Because I do understand that they have built a relationship, but one thing I will say is, even though the relationship did seem organic, it didn't seem strong enough for there to be such a conflict.
Well, I mean, it's more about the stakes, right? Like, what will happen if May succeeds? Because if May succeeds, humans will be dominant again. that's what she believes will happen, and she does it anyway because she's a human. Right? This is not. She's not acting out of some high-minded moral. She's saying, "I'm a human, therefore humans come first, and this was our world to begin with. So anything justifies that, including killing hundreds of apes in the flood." Right? So ultimately, this is her saying to Noah, "When push comes to shove, I will, and I have to choose between my people and you. I choose my people." And that is a really tough thing to say to somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Because fundamentally, she sees him as the other, even though she needs him at the moment. But the minute she doesn't anymore, he's just an ape. And I think Noah understands this, but he's not quite at that point where he's ready to act against it.
Yeah. Oh, you think he understands it?
I think so. I think that was ultimately what the last conversation was about, where he asks her, "Do you think apes and humans can ever live as equals?" And she says, "I hope so." But everything she's done up until that point suggests that she doesn't believe it.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like, "Oh, this is a nice story, but we both know it will never happen," kind of thing. Yeah, that was the subtext in her response. And he nods and says goodbye to her, and that's where the movie ends. And she was expecting him to try to kill her. That's why she had the gun.
That's what I'm gonna say. How did you feel about that?
Well, I thought, like, first of all, she has it there for self-defense, right? And I think the expectation that she will be killed on sight if she gets near the tribe, I think, was realistic. So being prepared made sense and was justified. And the fact that she didn't use it as soon as it became clear that she wouldn't have to. I think, like, all of that, like, that makes her more sympathetic and also more interesting, because she's not just a human supremacist, right? She doesn't hate apes. She just thinks her people deserve to be on top. And that's a natural place, and she wants to reinstate them. And that kind of means that everybody she's talked to in this entire movie will be a second-class citizen, if that, but probably will just be an animal. But that's a subtext in everything she says, right? Even if she says nice things, she still believes fundamentally only one of the two can be dominant, and if the choice is between them or us, it's us, right? And so far, the story has kind of contrived to make it to not call anybody's bluff, but I think they're setting up a situation where both characters will make those decisions, and it will be very personal and will be very tragic. I hope so.
You hope so?
I really want them to go there. I really want it to be like a moment where these two characters are standing, facing each other, and they both know what's going on, and they both know that they don't really have a problem with each other, but they both represent groups that will forever be in conflict with each other, and they cannot coexist, or they believe they can't coexist, or one of them believes they can't coexist, which is all it takes. So there's cool stuff going on here, and I think they're setting that up, and I want that to be where this is going, because this franchise really needs some more interesting conflicts, and this is how you do that, I think. Just muddy the waters, give us genuine hard decisions and genuine trade-offs, and then talk about how these groups interact and how they make their choices and how they relate to others.
Nah, I agree. So what would you say your favorite moment was in the film? Like your highlight scene?
This is kind of irrational, but when they went in the vault and I saw writing, like, it felt magical.
Which one?
When they're in the vault, they get into the vault, and they walk up. May walks up to a map of like a floor plan, right?
Yeah.
And there's writing. Like, this was not the first time we had seen writing in this movie, but for some reason it felt special, because the apes don't have writing. Like, there have been books in the movie before, and I don't know why in that moment it felt more significant than in other places. But simply the idea that, like the way Raka says, right, the symbols have meaning. Like, this was the first time we actually saw the symbols. Like, with the books, we didn't see what they were. I don't think. Maybe we saw a book title or something. But I think one of them was calculus or something, or like math. But this was the first time we read during the movie.
Yeah.
And it felt different for me. Like, I had an emotional response to the word exit. Like, I'm not sure why, but like this whole theme of civilization and building things and having lost things and all of that, like that came together in this word. I think emergency exit or whatever it was, right? It doesn't matter what it was, but the fact that there was a word and it meant something, that felt special in this movie.
Do you think it was because it was kind of lingering on the idea that the old world is coming?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting about this movie is that the apes, number one, don't have technology or very little. Number two, they have lost the ability to use any human technology almost. Like they have these shock staffs, right? And I don't know where they got them from because they don't have anything else. Like nothing else from humans. Like in the previous movies, they at least use guns still. And here they're kind of rediscovering every technology from scratch. And I don't know where they get the shock staffs from, but it's kind of out of place because they're not repurposing anything else from human. Like these artifacts are all around them, right? It's not just the vault; it's also everything else, right? There's this giant shipwreck that they live in and whatever, but none of them are using stuff from the old world, and that has to be a deliberate choice, and I don't understand why. Because they did it, like it seems to me like they should understand. Like Proximus Caesar can't be the only one who understands why it's important, but also he's dedicated everything he's doing to getting open the vault, which is the big treasure, right? But he has not made any efforts to scavenge for technology, which is seemingly all over the place. But they're not using it, and I don't understand why.
But does he know the importance of technology though? Because they're still on the guy that they've kept hostage. He's still teaching.
Yeah. But he's been teaching him a lot.
Yeah.
And he should be smart enough to understand at least what basic stuff is.
Is that basic though to an ape? Because so far maybe he's been just taught in terms of the importance of weapons, but in terms of technology.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's more that they are surrounded by the ruins of civilization and none of it's being used for anything. And that kind of stuck out to me because it's fine if it's all gone, if it's all rusted, if none of the guns work anymore. I'm sure after 300 years, like guns don't work anymore, whatever. But we're constantly seeing the remnants of, and he's surrounded by books and all of that stuff, right? Yeah. So he's not using that knowledge for anything. He's not building aqueducts. He's not making penicillin. You know what I mean? Like they seem to be rediscovering everything from scratch.
Yeah.
And that is a bit weird.
I understand. I think maybe to me, I see that as that kind of shows their limitation, and at the same time, it does show that the need that they need, that apes probably, maybe they're trying to show that apes still kind of need humans, because of course you see that Proximus has kept obviously that human hostage. So them, like you said, them having all that technology around and they're not doing anything about it. To me,
when his number one mission is getting into the vault, right? Why can't he send out scavengers and just stockpile stuff and figure out what it is later?
That shows me
he seems to be doing that with books, but nothing else.
Yeah, that shows me their limitation, and obviously, like I said, they've got the guy hostage. That kind of backs that statement as well. Yeah. So they've got all of this technology around. There's more efficient ways they can, there's more efficient ways they can use or come up with to actually get into that vault, or just anything in general that revolves around technology that can give them the power that they want. But I personally think they just don't know how to. And the human being hostage is kind of like a representation of that. Like, okay, even though you guys
still need humans.
You still need humans. Even though you're smart and you can talk all of that, you still need humans at the end of the day. And it seems like Proximus, he knows that, and he shows that by abducting him. And he always commends on Noah being. I think he always commends. I think he keeps on saying like, "I knew you were like a special one," or "You're not like the other apes." He keeps on saying something like, "You're not like the other apes. I knew it."
He recognizes intelligence.
Exactly.
And it's important that Noah figures out how to repair the shock staff. Like Proximus realizes how important this is. Like Noah can't make a shock staff, but he can fix one, and that puts him ahead of the curve, and that makes him important. And I wonder where they will take that. But yeah, like they don't seem to be doing very much. Like there's no ape scientists or engineers trying to figure out how the guns work, or how to make guns, or how to make cannons, or how to make penicillin, or whatever, right? And they know about a bunch of stuff, right? He talks about humans used to be able to talk across oceans, and I want apes to do the same. So he knows the stories, but he doesn't have any of it, and he doesn't try to obtain any of it.
Yeah.
when there's like 10 kilometers away, there are giant satellite dishes that still work after 400 years, like at the push of a button. So it can't all be broken.
Nah, I understand. I get where you're coming from. Definitely, I do.
So one thing I want to talk about was May and May's story, because I have been trying to make sense of it, and I don't think it works. Like, I think she's a fascinating character, like her psychology and where she ends up in the end, and like the big showdown in the vault. I think that's all wonderful. But her story, I don't think makes sense. Do you?
Why don't you think it makes sense?
So why does she seek out Noah and Raka? Because she knows about the vault, right? Her mission is get into the vault, find the decryption chip, and get it to the vault, right? So she knows where the vault is. She knows that Proximus controls it, or controls the territory, but she doesn't go to Proximus. Right? She doesn't let herself, like, the simple thing would have been to go to Proximus's territory, wander around until she finds a patrol, then get captured, and then say, hey, I'm Kai Talk, take me to your leader, kind of thing. That could have gotten her there, but instead she goes into the forest where Noah's tribe is, pretends to be feral, befriends him by pretending to be helpless, and then when she begins to trust him, then she reveals that she can talk. And then everything with Proximus happens. I don't know why she does what she does in the first half, and it bugs me because the rest of this movie is so great.
Did she originally seek him though, or didn't they find her and then they ran after her, Noah and the other monkeys?
She goes into their territory. They think that human scavengers are leaving the valley and coming into their territory, and so they send out this warrior to scare them away, and then that warrior gets killed by Proximus' raiding party, and that kicks off the entire story, right? But for the longest time, she goes to this. So if her goal is to get close to Proximus in order to get to the vault, then why is she going to this other group of apes that has nothing to do with Proximus, pretends to be feral, and then finds somebody she can trust? Why?
I have no idea. Originally, I legit thought the way that they thought their story came into fruition was she was looking for food, because I remember when she encountered Noah and what was the orange Raka. When she saw Noah and Raka around the fire that they created.
That's not when that started. She went to to Noah's village, went into the smoking room and stole a fish.
Yeah, that's the point. Because when Raka made the point about her,
this is way before Raka.
Yeah, I know that's way before Raka, but I'm saying that kind of falls back into why she went back into their village. Because at first, when Noah spotted her, then obviously they ran after her and then they lost her, and then she went back into the village to get the fish. So then that kind of
does she go all this way just to get food?
It seems
because
like
she kept following Noah and kept watching him, and she pretended it's because she's cold and wants the fire, but actually she's kind of scoping them out to see if she can trust them. And I don't know why. Like, at that point, they're two randos, right? This is way before they ever encounter Proximus.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'm missing something, but it seems weird.
Nah, yeah, maybe. That's true. I don't think it's not revealed yet. So maybe in the upcoming movie, they're gonna reveal her. Well, they're gonna reveal why she did what she did, and it is interesting because, like I said, my understanding of it is pretty basic. Now I'm actually understanding that she was scoping it. It's like, okay, so they didn't reveal in this movie why she was scoping him in the first place, because she technically didn't need him. Like, she already knew where the place was, and it's not like Noah, and obviously.
So I think it stops making sense at the point where it's revealed that she has this master plan, right? That she's undercover and the decryption chip has been her goal the entire time. But what does Noah have to do with the decryption chip? Why does getting close to Noah get her any closer to getting into the vault? It doesn't, because at that point he hasn't even encountered. And this is even before the raid. Like, it's not like she knows, okay, Proximus abducted most of the tribes, so this guy will go after them. So if I follow him, he will lead me to Proximus. Like, that's also not happening, because the interaction starts before the raid. And in fact, her being there is what draws. I don't know. It's It's like two different halves, each of which makes sense, but together they don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that bugs me.
Maybe it's because they had a common goal. So maybe at first
But then not at that point. At that point, Noah's goal had nothing. Like, he didn't know about Proximus.
Yeah.
Like, he was out in the forest at night in order to get another egg, right? And he lost the egg because she had snuck into his town. And when she rushed past him out of the smoke room, she crushed his egg. And that's why he needed another egg. And that's why he went into the forest at night. And that's why he witnessed the raiding party and all of that, right? So the causality all makes sense. I just don't know why May does what she does at the start, because that sets off the entire story. But it seems like she has no reason to, and it actually counterproductive, because she's going way out of her way just for some fish, but then she has to go back the entire way back into Proximus' territory because that's where the vault is. I have no idea.
Yeah. But wasn't she on the run though? Because they were still chasing her.
But she wants to be caught. She wants to be. She wants to be. She knows that she will not be harmed because she's valuable, and that gets her close to Proximus and to the center of power, and then she can sneak away into the vault. Right. That's her plan. That's the entire thing.
Okay. Wow.
So I don't know. It may be that I'm missing something. Maybe if I watch it again, it will make more sense. But it really stood out because everything else is really tightly plotted, right? Like every causality, like the causality is really strong in this, right? Like it's really carefully plotted. It's really carefully, like all the cause and effect really adds up from one thing to the next, and that leads characters to where they need to be.
Yeah.
But it seems like May is acting with a plan from the start, and she has no, and doing what she does at the start really works against what we later find out her plan was from the start. So It's weird. I don't understand it, and I wish it made sense.
Yeah. We're gonna have to. You might have to take a dive into Reddit.
Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, one thing I love about this movie as well, and I have started poking around Reddit a bit. The more you think about this movie, the more sense it makes. Like all the little world building details, the character designs, even the language, like this idea that Proximus talks about bending the neck. That's because that's how apes show submissiveness.
Oh, okay.
Like he uses the phrase something about you will bend your neck. Everybody bends their neck to me sooner or later, something like that. And that's what chimpanzees do when they submit to somebody. They don't kneel, they don't bow, they lower their head. That was a cool detail that is baked into the language, and it's not made a big deal of. But that's how they talk, and they use some human terms, but there's also like just chimp reality or like ape reality going on. That was really cool. And the more I think the more you dig into this stuff, the more sense it makes. And that's always a good side for a movie.
Before we get into the last thoughts and ratings, is there anything else that you want to bring up?
I think we've covered it. I think Noah is kind of a blank, as a protagonist. He's fine, but he's not the most interesting character in this. I hope May turns into a villain, or at least that the two kind of become antagonists for each other. I hope the franchise develops more interesting and more complex conflicts that kind of suggest that cooperation between apes and humans is possible, but you have to overcome a whole bunch of different hurdles. And that is difficult but possible. Like, I want them to get there, but we know kind of it has to turn into a society that's run entirely by apes, and has to get a whole lot darker, right? It has to become a theocracy run by this warped Caesar cult, and the gorillas have to essentially be a military dictatorship. That's where this has to go, and it has to get a whole lot darker before it gets better. And I hope the journey is really worth it, because this is like the rare franchise that actually delivers and actually is intelligent about that stuff. So I hope they keep up the good work.
Okay. Would you rate the film?
5 out of 8.
Danny G strikes again.
Oh, what do you?
For me, I believe that my eyes have been open when it comes to this franchise. I will definitely be. I know I said I was gonna rewatch this movie. Which I should have before watching this, but I just didn't get the time to. So I will definitely be rewatching the 4 films previous to this. It was 3 or 4.
This is number 4.
Yep, so 3 films trivia to this one. Like I said, my eyes were definitely open to this, man. I enjoyed this experience, and I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. I would give this movie a strong 8, a strong 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it, man. At first I gave it a 7, but then after when I actually left the cinema, because I was kind of I was digesting on what was going on, especially after speaking with like Daniel and Hervé. I was like, okay, you know what? I understand more what's going on now, because when they were giving when there was an in-depth discussion, like, oh, okay, this meant that, and this meant this. That's why I've improved it to 8. So it was an enjoyable experience, and I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. It's an 8 out of 10 for me, man. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episodes. We will catch you. Well, firstly, let us know what you think. Let us know if you enjoyed the film. Let us know if you agree with our opinions. If you disagree, just let us know what you think, man, in the comment section below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow the Eye of the Podcast family. But yeah, guys, we will catch you next week. And au revoir.
Bye-bye.